Another Apple product we should see at the spring event possibly is this new iMac Pro. Now, this is something that I don't need, but I want because it seems like it's going to be a really great machine. So as the MacBook Pro sort of checks all the boxes on the mobile front, it's got the ports, it's got the notch, it's got the mini LED display, it's got the power of the M1 Pro or M1 Max. It's great. But for those who want that power in a more desktop functionality or like something a little bit more permanent and with a bigger display, that is where the iMac Pro is going to come in and sort of solve all of your problems. So rumor has it with this one, you're looking at a 27-inch ProMotion mini LED display. So a really great display, bright, vibrant, colorful. That's also got the 120 hertz sort of variable refresh rate tech built in. That should be super cool. Lots of ports on the back. I think it's like a mix of USB-C, SD card slot, I think USB-A too, maybe 10 gig Ethernet. That would be super nice. And then powering this under the hood would be either the M1 Pro, the M1 Max, or sort of your choice. Like the MacBook Pro, you have either the M1 Pro or M1 Max. Basically, just think the guts of the MacBook Pro in an iMac that has a larger display, better display, and should be all around a really great computer. There have been like some weird theories on the design of this. Some say that Apple is just going to make the 24-inch iMac bigger, maybe make it space gray and call it a day and call that the iMac Pro. Well, there have been other rumors that suggest that there's going to be a bigger redesign here. Like it's going to look like a little mini Pro Display XDR. It's going to have sort of a wider aspect ratio, super slim bezels. I'd love to see that. I don't know if Apple's going to do that, but either way, looks aside, the power of this thing is going to be great. And Matt, are you looking to replace that iMac you've got with an iMac Pro?
Absolutely. I'm super excited for this. I mean, we're going to talk about some of the other display options that may be coming in a little bit, but let's just forget those for now. If those don't happen, the iMac Pro is the best way to get into a really good display and also have that power with it. So like we said, you have the 14-inch MacBook Pro. We just ordered my 14-inch MacBook Pro, which should be here in a short few months. The estimated is the end of February, early March, so it's painful.
Has it moved up at all?
No. Although we did do the business account, and I think business accounts sometimes gets pushed a little earlier, so fingers crossed for that. But basically, I mean, I'm going to be using the 14-inch MacBook Pro as a iMac Pro. I just don't have the really good display. So it's like the best of both worlds. So, I was going back and forth knowing that this is probably coming. Should I get the laptop or should I get the desktop? For me, laptop just makes more sense. But I can always dream of having both, right? So that's that's the plan here. I really am excited for this computer. And yeah, I don't think they're going to necessarily do a big redesign. What I could maybe see is like the chin is a little smaller or something, but I still think it's going to be there. Obviously, it's going to come in like a space gray and silver. I don't think we'll see the colors that we have. I'm okay with that, though. Like I said, the iMac design has grown on me quite a bit, so I'm happy with that. If they do end up, doing a full redesign on it, then cool. I'm not going to be mad about that, but I think it actually makes more sense to make it fit in with the line, because then you have the whole iMac line and it makes sense visually, especially if they do some of these Apple displays, which are kind of going to be its own category. You don't necessarily want it to look exactly like those, so making it look like the iMac we have now, I think makes sense. But yeah, I'm excited for this thing.
So if the iMac Pro is the computer I want, then the new Mac Mini is probably the computer I would most likely get because save some money and basically get the same thing. So also in the rumor mill is a new Mac Mini that's supposed to get redesigned. Could we see some colors, some really great ports on the back? Basically, if the iMac is the better incarnation of the MacBook Pro, think of the Mac Mini as sort of all the benefits of the iMac without the display. So this is just the computer, probably M1 Pro or M1 Max. You'd still have a lot of ports on the back. I mean, in theory, the iMac Pro shouldn't be more powerful because doesn't the current Mac Mini, it has a fan in there, right?
Yep, it's got a fan.
So I guess there's some kind of argument to be made that maybe the thermals of the iMac could be better, but there's also a display there. I guess in theory, let's just say, for argument's sake, they're both just as powerful depending on the chip you get. The Mac Mini is also a very compelling offering because if you don't need that display and you already have a really good display, then just buy the computer. You are just buying that box with the processor and the ports, and you should be good to go. This is like another one of my dreams that I could, transition my 14-inch MacBook Pro as a real laptop and then just get a Mac Mini for, I don't know, maybe like a fraction of the price, maybe, save a couple $100 and then sort of get that same M1 Max chip inside. Not exactly sure how Apple will market this because traditionally, the Mac Mini has been sort of the home computer. It's for those who already have the keyboard, the mouse, and display, BYKOD, right? K-O-D,
Bring your keyboard,
yeah. Bring your own
display
keyboard,
mouse.
display mouse, whatever the acronym was. That's sort of how it's been. But now with new Apple Silicon, we've discussed this before, maybe Apple does either a bunch of options, so maybe you could go from M2 all the way up to M1 Pro Max, or you just sort of have maybe two configs. I'm not sure how Apple's going to do it. This is also, I don't know when it's going to launch, probably sometime in the spring, but in the sort of vein of new Apple Silicon Macs, new Mac Mini is coming, and another one I'm excited for. I don't know which, I'm probably not going to buy any of these, but it's nice to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confused about this M1, or not M1, but this new Mac Mini coming out because, the rumor is it's going to come in colors, and from what we know, at least now, if it has colors, it's more of a home computer. So I don't see why it would have like a M1 Pro or M1 Max. Obviously, I want that, but I don't see why. Like I don't actually understand the reason behind that. I could maybe see them doing a separate SKU where it's the Mac Mini Pro or something like that. Maybe. I mean, that seems like a little much, but yeah, the colors and the Pro performance, it's not sitting well with me. Not that I don't want it. I'm a little bit doubtful that this is going to happen, even though we have all the rumors pointing towards it happening. I hope it does because, like you said, this is definitely a computer I would like to have because, like I said, I have this whole computer desktop setup, which we talked about last week in our episode, like our setups and stuff. This would be a perfect thing to slot in here at my desk setup and actually use the laptop as a laptop. That would be perfect. So I'm all for this happening. I'm just, I don't know. I'm not 100% all the way there just because of those colors.
Hey, you! Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Apple Circle podcast. If you want to check out the full episode, hit one of those videos right here, and also hit the other surprise video to see a surprise clip from the Apple Circle podcast. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Apple Circle audio feeds and on all your favorite podcast platforms linked down below. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to the main Apple Circle YouTube channel linked right down below.